This clearly shows the importance and potential of the ICT sector, our job creation and economic diversification agenda.
Come up with modalities that will enable Nigeria benefit from the global multi-billion-dollar digital economy, Buhari tells experts in ICT.
If we're able to resolve the educational challenge, we will also resolve to a very large extent the poverty challenge.
Teacher Education and Welfare Federal Government vows to continue professional development of teachers. 25 individuals, 7 organizations back Productivity Merit Award 2019.
Deal with the governing board that this Senate has approved.
Senate directs committee to finish work on NDDC budget within 2 weeks as House of Reps wade into federal government ASU IPPIS crisis. Good evening and welcome to the news at 9 on the network service of Nigerian Television Authority. We're live from our studios here in Abuja. I'm Rhoda, and on I'm reading with me tonight is Michael Olaye in Lagos. Experts in information technology solution providers and other relevant stakeholders have been tasked to brainstorm on and come up with a comprehensive report that will help Nigeria benefit maximally from the current global multi-billion-dollar digital economy. President Muhammadu Buhari, who made the request at the opening of DCS E-Nigeria conference, specifically made the case for the improvement and expansion of the nation's digitization agenda for the betterment of the country. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the report.
The 2019 E-Nigeria conference with the theme National Digital Economy is focusing on transforming the Nigerian economy for sustainable development. The climax of the opening ceremony was the unveiling by President Muhammadu Buhari of the National Digital Economy Strategy that provides policy direction for digitizing Nigeria. Describing digital economy as an absolute necessity, President Buhari noted with delight that the information and communications technology sector has this year alone contributed 13.85% to the nation's GDP.
This clearly shows the importance and potential of the ICT sector to our job creation and economic diversification agenda. Our recent introduction of the Nigerian e-Government Master Plan will further consolidate our successes to date and increase interoperability among the different ministries, departments, and agencies of government. I have therefore directed the Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy to develop training and sensitization programs that will be rolled out across all key MDAs with immediate effect to ensure seamless implementation of the master plan.
The president, however, said as the nation continues to explore the abundant opportunities in the ICT sector for sustainable socio-economic development, people must remain mindful of its threats.
We encourage all Nigerians to ensure that their phones are properly registered. As a government, our priority is to protect the lives and properties of all Nigerians.
Chief Convener of the conference and Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Patami, enumerated with pride the giant strides recorded so far since his assumption of office.
The skills we have started providing has also started yielding results. Our plan is to make sure we create millions of digital jobs for Nigerians. So far, we are on track.
We believe digital economy can add 1 trillion naira per year to Nigeria within the next 4 years and create a shared prosperity for our people.
The E-Nigeria conference is a veritable platform for ICT awareness creation, developing appropriate framework and setting goals for best practices towards properly positioning Nigeria in the global information society.
The outcome is expected to guide Nigeria benefit maximally from the current global multi-billion-dollar economy.
is needed there. I started the next level reforms to position Nigeria on the world map of global digital competitive nations.
Highlights of the ceremony was the presentation of awards to some Nigerian ICT startups that left their mark on the global stage. Abdulkadir Bashir, a Nigerian artificial solutions provider, was the overall global winner at this year's Gulf Information Technology Exhibition, with its application Chineke Guard developed to convey any suspicious activity in a given area on a real-time basis. Osawaru Stephen was also recognized as one of the finalists at the competition with its application 247 Medics, designed to link patients with their doctors anywhere in the world. President Buhari promised that his administration will encourage and support such digital entrepreneurs to develop innovative solutions for local and global challenges. In Abuja, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari said the federal government will continue to do everything within its powers towards safeguarding the interests of investors in Nigeria. Granting orders to the chairman of the Total Group worldwide on a courtesy visit, he expressed the belief that investments cannot thrive in an atmosphere of social and political instability. Here again is Adamu Sambu.
President Muhammadu Buhari said the relationship between Nigeria and Total has been long and mutually beneficial. The federal government said wants it sustained and deepened further. The president consequently promised to ensure social and political stability across the country so that investors can continue to recover their investments. This, he said, is the government's duty that must be carried out so as to maintain the desired mutual confidence between Nigeria and all those contributing to the economy. The chairman and chief executive officer of Total Group Worldwide, Mr. Patrick Poyan, had told the president that apart from oil and gas, which is the company's core activity, they are also willing to develop the solar power potentials of Nigeria. As he puts it, our portfolio is large and therefore we have many more projects to come. He said with the huge prospects of Nigeria in oil and gas, more developing activities are possible. Total and Nigeria, he emphasized, need to keep the momentum as the group is prepared to commit more investments to Nigeria. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari says although Nigeria is rich in petroleum resources, the enormous challenges confronting the country virtually renders the oil earnings insignificant. The president stated this while receiving in audience the Cuban ambassador to Nigeria. Here again is State House correspondent Adamu Sambu.
The Cuban envoy, Carlos Sosa, was in the State House on a farewell visit after completing his tour of duty to Nigeria that lasted 5 years. President Buhari described as pleasing the relations between Cuba and Nigeria, particularly the hand of fellowship extended in, amongst others, healthcare and transfer of knowledge. Nigeria, he said, has deficit in infrastructure, education, and many other areas, but Cuba has always been very helpful. He explained that what the nation earns from oil does not meet her needs and appreciated Cuba for being friendly and supportive. President Buhari hopes that the relations between the two countries will work stronger. The Cuban ambassador, Carlos Sosa, thanks Nigeria and Nigerians for the warmth, love, and friendship accorded him, saying he will never forget the country. As he puts it, I am not just being polite, I mean every word. We appreciate Nigeria a great deal. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari will depart Abuja Friday to participate in the 5th Gas Exporting Countries Forum Summit in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea. A statement by Garba Shehu, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, says leaders of major gas-producing nations of the world will be attending the one-day meeting. President Buhari is expected to reaffirm Nigeria's commitment to the broad objectives of the Gas Exporting Countries Forum, discuss current trends in the global gas markets, potential policies for the energy sector, and opportunities for collaboration. President Buhari will be accompanied by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, Minister of Petroleum Resources, Timothy Sylvia, Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Olamileko Adegbite, and the Group Managing Director, Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, Mele Kolokiari. After the summit, President Buhari will head for Dara, Katsina State, on a 5-day official visit. The federal government says it intends to diligently adopt continuous professional development for teachers in the country, in addition to a detailed work plan and achievement of the government in teachers' education and welfare. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo made this known at the opening of the 2019 Nigeria's Annual Education Conference in Abuja. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
Evidence from around the world, as Vice President Yemi Osinbajo explains, has shown that the quality of education outcomes is very much dependent on the quality of teaching. As Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says, students placed with high-performing teachers performed 3 times better than those with low-performing teachers.
If we're able to resolve the educational challenge, we will also resolve to a very large extent the poverty challenge. The choices that lie before us are very clear. Investing in relevant education, by that I mean education that would equip the child with the best possible skills. Today, digital skills, civic skills, innovative skills, education that equips to function optimally in a world that is increasingly being defined by the developments in what is called the 4th Industrial Revolution.
And getting children to school and ensuring that they are instructed in appropriate surroundings with the right equipment is just one part of the equation that the Vice President says the federal government is targeting.
So it's up to us, really. Every country, in my view, and when I say every country, it's not just the government, the civil society, the private sector, every one of us must feel that we are mandated by history, mandated to do something concrete about the education of our children.
The ministry has been able to find empirical means.
Education is central to transforming the world, and the Minister of State for Education, Chukwuemeka Nwajuba, says Nigeria is committed to improving the quality of teaching and learning outcomes geared toward achieving the Education 2030 agenda, especially the Sustainable Development Goals.
The Federal Ministry of Education, in line with this administration's agenda, will continue to consider the improvement of education as a top priority.
Professor Margaret Miheso Okonon from Kenya draws the attention of participants to the imperative of indigenous languages and the involvement of the community in the education of the child.
We have people with so much intelligence, so much hands-on, who can pick up a skill and provide a solution for society that have been left behind. Literacy among the adults has not been met. And this literacy is not just about reading and numeracy, but it is about being part and parcel of the education system.
The theme of the conference is Education for Sustainable Livelihoods, a system approach to strengthening the sector for productivity and global competitiveness. In Abuja, Jide Onifade, NT News.
We turn our attention now to the legislature, where the Senate has directed its committee on Niger Delta to consider the budget estimates of the Niger Delta Development Commission as requested by President Muhammadu Buhari and report back within 2 weeks. National Assembly correspondent Vivian Idekbefo has the report.
The Senate had on 26 November 2019 received a request by President Muhammadu Buhari to consider the budget estimates of the NDDC. Now, the proposal has been referred to the relevant committee for consideration.
I want to also reiterate here for emphasis that we deal with the governing board that this Senate has approved. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. I have attached for your kind.
The Senate at plenary also received executive communication from President Buhari requesting approval of the federal government's 2016-2018 external borrowing plan, as well as consideration and passage of the Companies and Allied Matters Bill 2019. A motion on the need to install computerized oil facilities management gadgets to safeguard Nigerian crude oil businesses was adopted.
Nigeria has the capacity in terms of funding
to install both power plants, product validation computerized system to save waste.
You don't have ICT involved in your measurement and production, then there is no way you can be able to have exactly what you have.
If we're able to do this, we will reduce the loan we take as a nation.
Also adopted was the need to investigate the non-commencement of the Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission, HYPADEC.
The Senate is also worried that inability of the Commission to take off has exposed the communities within the area of operation of hydroelectric dams in Nigeria to serious ecological challenges.
Now, there's even the more reason for this commission to take place because you will now add Kashimbila communities, you add Mambila communities, all of this in Taraba State.
We must have to find out why there is this attitude of ignoring something that has been passed by law in this chamber.
The spirit of a new collaboration and cooperation with the executive. The leadership should take up this issue.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it.
Plenary was adjourned till Tuesday, 3rd December 2019. From the National Assembly, Vivian Idekbefo, NTA News.
The House of Representatives has resolved to intervene on the brewing face-off between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities in relation to the enrollment of its members into the Integrated Payroll and Personal Information System, IPPIS. The decision was in response to a matter of urgent importance raised by Representative Tajuddin Abbas. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali tells us more.
House members noted that the threat by ASU to embark on industrial action if the federal government goes ahead to enroll ASU members into the IPPIS spells jeopardy for academic activities in public universities. The House, therefore, mandated committees on labor and productivity, finance, and tertiary education to look into the matter. The lawmakers also resolved to investigate allegations that the Ministry of Budget and National Planning trimmed downward the number of personnel which the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps and the Nigeria Customs Service planned to recruit.
3 million people applied in only 10,000. And now budget office, they plan to reduce it to 5,000. So, Mr. Speaker, what kind of plan is this? A presidential approval of 10,000 Nigerians to be recruited to the civil defense. And the budget office will say no. Employ 5,000. Mr. Speaker, that's an indictment, honestly.
We plug the leakages and holes that are present and do the real proper recruitment. At the same time, even when you increase your capital expenditure, you are opening the doors for employment.
Thursday's plenary featured adoption of other resolutions, including the need to investigate alleged violation of labor laws by international oil companies and a call on authorities to stop methods used to dispose stolen crude oil.
They are doing a good job trying to stop oil bunkering, but they are creating another problem in the process that creates an environmental degradation, environmental pollution that brings health hazards to our people.
There must be a regulation. There must be a standard you will meet before you become an employer, an agent to employ for the IOs.
We have jobs that are not necessarily technical jobs that the international oil companies are bringing in personnel from their countries to do in Nigeria. 2
reports were laid before plenary, one of which is the report from the House Committee on Finance on the bill that made provisions for tax reforms. It was considered and adopted at the Committee on Supply. House Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila read before the House 2 letters from President Buhari, one requesting the House to consider and approve the 2016 to 2019 external borrowing plan, and the other seeking consideration and passage of the Companies and Allied Matters Bill. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
You're watching the news at 9. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we have more reports. Please stay here.
I better go. I feel like I said the first takes time finish.
are supposed to buy fuel, they will not buy. We look here, he still doesn't 200 naira fuel, he will still buy.
Okay, 200. You can put your YouTube, Abi.
Yes, but you go add 888, join now.
It's so beautiful.
Is it not 200 you give that lady?
Now 888 is that.
888 now the new AWOOF. Recharge with star 888 star pin hash to enjoy 5 times AWOOF from MTN to call any network. You fit also enjoy am on top to you. Just ask your vendor for AWOOF for you.
Office man, you don't forget money sef.
Oh, forget. You go even add 888 join that shit.
Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs cordially invites the Muslim Ummah to the formal opening ceremony of the Council General Assembly under the chairmanship of His Eminence Alhaji Muhammad Saad Abubakar, Sultan of Sokoto. Special guest of honor, His Excellency Professor Yemi Oshibajo. Guests of honor, the Senate President, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Muslim Justices of the Supreme Court, and all Muslim ministers. Chief host, Malam Muhammad Bello, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. Other hosts are the governors of Kwara, Kogi, Niger, Nasarawa, Benue, and Plateau states. Guest lecturer, Dr. Isa Ali Pantami. Date, November 29th, 2019. Time, 10 a.m. prompt. Venue, Conference Hall of the National Mosque, Abuja. Announcer, Professor Salisu Shehu, the Deputy Secretary General.
They feel me now. Getting money, then they feel me now. But then they do me anyhow. Don't get money, they want to get it. Oh, yeah, shake body. Oh, yeah, move body. You ring alarm. Oh, yeah, shake body.
The management and staff of the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, ICRC, and Federal Roads Maintenance Agency, FEMA, wishes to announce the first Nigeria-South Africa Road Transport Infrastructure and PPP Collaboration Initiative under the auspices of the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. The event is scheduled to hold as follows. Date, Monday, 2nd December 2019. Venue, Frazier Suites Hotel, Central Business District, Abuja. Time 9 a.m. prompt. This event is jointly hosted by the ICRC, FEMA, Development Bank of Southern Africa, and the South African National Roads Authority. Engineers Chidi C. Izua, Senior Director General, CEO, ICRC, and Engineer Nuruddin Rafindadi, Managing Director, CEO, Federal Roads Maintenance Agency, FEMA, announcers.
You can choose to manage everything else, but not your data. Get more out of it with the new Airtel data plans. Dial *141# today. Data is life. Airtel, the
Smartphone Network.
DOM Communications Limited, publisher of Nigerian Pilot Newspapers, presents 10th anniversary of the Nigerian Pilot Newspapers with the theme celebrating 10 years of robust journalism and nation building under the distinguished chairmanship of Royal Majesty Oba Adeye Eniton Ogunwusi Onedife. Special guest of honor, SGF Boss Mustafa. Events lineup include public lecture, award presentation, and gala night. Award nominees in different categories include the governors of Cross River, Bauchi, Rivers, Kano, Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Delta, Zamfara, Kaduna, while others also include the Minister of Niger Delta, the Governor of Edo State, Oyo, Benue, Anambra, as well as a host of others. The day will be spiced up with performances by Harry Song, Tenny, Tagoye, and OK Bakasi. The 12th of December 2019, venue, Ladi Kwali Hall, Sheraton Hotels Tower, Abuja. Time 4 p.m. Red carpet. Guest of honor, Senate President, Speaker House of Representatives, and Minister of Information and Culture. Chief host, Mohammed Musa Bello, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. Host, Prince Dennis Sami, Chairman Publisher, Nigerian Pilot Newspapers. For further inquiries, please call the following phone numbers.
You're welcome back, and if you just joined us, you're watching the news at 9. Imbibing the culture of productivity for the attainment of creativity, hard work and commitment to economic development is the clarion call to all Nigerians at the 18th National Productivity Day and the conferment of a National Productivity Order of Merit Award. 25 individuals and 7 organizations have been recognized for their excellent contributions to the well-being of Nigeria, which is the essence of the celebration of the Productivity Day. Emmanuel Ayemire was there and now tells us more.
It is another time for Nigeria to say well done to our citizens and corporate organizations who in the last 12 months added value in different sectors of the economy. This year, industrial giants Aliko Dangote, Oba Otudeko, Tony Ilumelu were all recognized for job creation, promotion of entrepreneurship and locally made products, and many others, both in public service and the private sector, walked up to the podium for a handshake and plague.
And what we do at the Tony Melu Foundation is to arm people to become creators of jobs.
And this achievement of today award is making me to work more hard.
For those still in service, the award is to make them encourage the younger ones to strive for excellence.
You're not working because you want to please your boss. You should work to improve the system.
Of particular interest is the recognition of the Kwakwando Foundation for its contribution to the well-being of the physically challenged, and they are using this to seek the establishment of the Disability Commission.
When the commission is set up, there will be a lot of advantages for the over 23 million persons with disability in Nigeria.
SGF Boss Mustafa, who delivered President Muhammadu Buhari's message, says government will continue to provide a platform that will trigger, sustain growth momentum.
It's only such sustained efforts that can transform our national economy to become more productive, secure, stable, and competitive.
GDP growth is not too encouraging. That deficit, we need to cover it up. And it's from hard work, dedication to work.
So what will now be our concern is sustainability.
The award, which is said to promote healthy competition among prospective recipients, facilitates more quality service delivery to the nation. Emmanuel Ayemiro, NTA News.
The National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Mongono, retired, wants heads of security agencies in the country to work collectively out and work at new strategies to curtail new wave of criminality across the country being worsened by proliferation of small arms and drug abuse. He spoke at the Strategic Forum on National Security in Abuja. Kevin Eboai has details.
Issues of banditry, kidnapping and other crimes have been on the increase in Nigeria in recent times, posing serious challenge to the nation's security. While the security agencies are doing their bits to curtail the trend, it is now time for a new strategic plan for strengthening synergy among them for greater results. This, the National Security Advisor, NSA, Major General Babagana Muguno, retired, believe is the shortest route to success.
The Office of the National Security Advisor is at present collaborating with relevant stakeholders to put in place means for control, distribution of substance such as codeine, tramadol, and similar drugs being abused by youths.
With the heads of security agencies from 36 states and the FCT in attendance, the forum, a brainchild of the National Institute for Security Studies, is to show the path to achieving the said goal.
If you want to be strategic in your engagement, you must conquer your environment. You must know your operational environment.
Outcomes of the syndicate sessions are expected to form a blueprint for the heads of security agencies at the state level to work with. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
In continuation of the sustained offensive air operation against Boko Haram terrorists in Borno State, the Air Task Force of Operation Lafiadole has neutralized several terrorist hideouts in Goske of the fringes of Sambisa Forest. This was made known by the Director of Public Relations and Information, Nigerian Air Force Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola. The operation was conducted in pursuant to credible intelligence reports indicating that the settlement was one of the locations being used by Boko Haram terrorists as a staging area from where they launch attacks against own troops positioned in the southern part of the state. The Nigerian Air Force says it will sustain its effort to completely destroy all remnants of the terrorists in the northeast. Nigeria and South Africa will explore avenues to use culture, tourism, and the creative industry to further strengthen the relationship that exists between the two countries. This was the outcome of a meeting between the Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed, and his South African counterpart. Anthony Forsing reports.
The Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed, while expressing delight over the visit, maintained that Nigeria and South Africa have over the years enjoyed a cordial relationship which puts them at par. And with this renewed zeal to further strengthen the bond, the creative industry is quite handy and potent.
We've always believed that culture and tourism is a very effective platform and a very effective avenue for cementing relationship between the two countries. A few years back, we did actually put in motion the machinery for exchange, cultural exchange visits between Nigeria and South Africa, and we are still working on it because we believe that a lot of issues can be resolved when we bring to South Africa our very popular artists, because I'm told that a few Nigerian musicians who are extremely popular in South Africa, and vice versa.
Against the background of recent happenings in South Africa, Lai Mohammed called for more of such visits.
I believe that nations will continue to relate with one another. We are going to have challenges, and it is this kind of visits that would help us cement relationship.
On her part, the South African Minister of Culture and Tourism, Mamoloko Kubanyi Ngubani, explained that her visit to Nigeria is to demonstrate her country's seriousness in keeping and further strengthening her relationships with other African countries, especially Nigeria.
Because part of the responsibility we have is to ensure that the two nations are able to continue with exchanging not only ideas, work, but we do have visitation between ourselves as countries. So that will be part of that. And we felt it important for us to be able to have this discussion, but also because we have specifically our memorandum of understanding between the two countries that has been live, that we've been working, continue on the work, and just to make sure that we can be able to enhance that work and continue.
She noted that South Africa was quite pleased with President Muhammadu Buhari's last visit to that country, saying it demonstrated Nigeria's genuine love for other African countries, especially South Africa, with whom a long relationship exists. The meeting, which went beyond just discussing culture and tourism, it went deep into explaining how to ensure that the recent happenings in South Africa don't repeat itself, just as the issue of fake news was taken into consideration as a tool that promotes hate and should be avoided. In Lagos, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
In another development, the federal government has launched a campaign for the return and restitution of the nation's looted or smuggled artifacts around the world. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed announced this at a media briefing in Lagos. Here again is Anthony Forson.
We are putting on notice all those who are holding on to Nigeria's cultural property anywhere in the world that we are coming for them.
Announcing the launch, the Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed wondered how logical it is for an Ife or Benin bronze, likewise a Nok terracotta, can belong to any part of the world apart from the people of Nigeria. Just as Nigeria, he said, cannot lay claim to Mona Lisa or Rembrandt.
Those who looted our heritage resources, especially during the 19th century wars, or those who smuggled them out of the country for pecuniary reasons, have simply encouraged the impoverishment of our heritage and stealing of our past.
He pointed out that these timeless and priceless pieces of artwork are an important part of our past history and heritage resources. Therefore, allowing them to sit in foreign museums or other nations deny us of our history.
Also, those who proudly display what they did not produce are daily reaping financial gains from them, while those whose ancestors made them are not.
Therefore, with the present diversification of the nation's economy, the priceless heritage resources have a role to play, he said.
How can we benefit from what is ours when most of them are done in the museums and private collections of others who describe them as their properties?
In making the launch succeed by UNESCO and ECOWAS, Article 4 of UNESCO 1970 Convention spells out categories of cultural heritage covered by the article. Therefore, with 2018 Abuja Declaration also by ECOWAS heads of state, a political declaration on the return of cultural properties back to their original countries of origin was agreed upon.
We are bound by this declaration, which has further brought discussions towards a plan of action.
With Nigeria's cultural heritage resources circulating around the world, Nigeria will favorably be disposed to holding joint exhibitions and have such objects loaned out as well. To this end, the minister called on individuals and museums holding onto the nation's heritage resources to initiate dialogue with the Nigerian government.
But whatever decision is taken by the group must be based on the inviolable, logical, and natural conclusion that the looted or smuggled artifacts belong to Nigeria.
For now, strategies to retrieve them will begin from next year in an annual conference on restitution of cultural property to be initiated by the federal government. However, the minister said of heartwarming as a plan to return Okoko, one of the Benin artifacts from the United Kingdom. In Lagos, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
First Lady of Nigeria, Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, has advocated for more involvement of critical stakeholders in the fight against HIV and AIDS to effectively achieve the global target of ending the epidemic by the year 2030. The First Lady stated this during the Adolescent and Young People Symposium as part of the activities lined up to commemorate 2019 World AIDS Day. State House correspondent Aliu Kabir reports.
Every December 1st has been set aside by the United Nations as World AIDS Day. It is in commemoration of the day. These programs are designed in order to create more awareness for the dangers of the epidemic and to review mechanisms and action plans towards ending the disease in line with the global and the Millennium Development Goals targets. It is in this light stakeholders converged on Abuja under the auspices of National Agency for Control of AIDS (NACA) in collaboration with the Future Assured program of the First Lady, as well as Chinese Embassy in Nigeria and the United States government and UNAIDS, the global ambassador of the elimination of mother-to-child transmission. The First Lady has challenged the public, especially adolescents and young people, to remain steadfast in every way possible to defeat the epidemic of HIV and AIDS, in an effort to cutting down the growing number of young persons with the new infections.
I believe that this information have received today gives us an advantage towards having an HIV-free population in future. I must note the contribution of activists who challenged the silence and the stigma over HIV. I commend the efforts of various communities for their struggle against HIV. We must also remember and honor all those whom we have lost along the way.
With this year's theme, Communities Make the Difference, Adolescent and Young People Matters, participants from both domestic and global bodies in the control of the disease, as well as HIV survivors, are optimistic that with all hands on deck, the challenge of HIV will be addressed.
The commitment of the government of Nigeria to increase funding for HIV. Mr. President has made a commitment and has fulfilled the pledge, and this is captured in the 2020 budget.
And once we can get into universal health coverage properly established, then we'll have less problems with funding diseases like HIV.
In Nigeria, UNAIDS estimate that 120,000 adolescents aged between 10 and 19 are living with HIV/AIDS in 2018.
The program features presentation of prizes to the winners and participants of essay competition as an encouragement to people living positive that there is much more meaningful life there. From the State House, Aliu Kabir, NTA News.
Communities in Daura Emirates of Katsina State will have access to Standard Children's Hospital, will cater for their health needs. This follows a signing of a contract for the construction of the hospital project by the NNPC, Belema All Joint Venture, in partnership with Belema Aid Foundation.
Signing of a contract for the Children's Hospital project in Daura signals the official commencement of the project. When completed, the hospital project, with a 100-bed capacity, fully equipped laboratory and scanning facilities, will help reduce incidence of maternal and infant mortality, which is most prevalent in sub-Saharan Africa. Stakeholders in the Children's Hospital project, initiated by the NNPC Belema Oil Venture in partnership with the Belema Aid Foundation, are therefore optimistic that the intervention will provide succor for communities in the Daura Emirates.
In any community, when you talk about health, you are trying to say, I'm helping you to promote your welfare of the student. That's the purpose of Belema Oil. What he's doing as much as possible is helping the community.
The project, which commences immediately, will be executed by 4 companies that will be supervised by a consultant to ensure that it is delivered in accordance with its original design at the right time.
This has to do with health, that is child health. Without the children, we don't have a future. And that's why we deemed it fit that this is something we are going to invest in.
And the community should look forward to a successful project that will go on.
Founder and president of Belema Oil Producing Limited, Jack Rich Ten Jr., who addressed stakeholders in the project, described it as his company's demonstration of love and commitment to national unity.
What we have demonstrated today is a clear statement that those of our brothers in the north and we down here were one. We're not different from ourselves. And understanding our respective needs and collaborating to address that need is important, the most important foundation that we need to lay as legacy for our children and their children. And it's also very important to recognize the fact that this project is for humanity.
The Children's Hospital in Daura, which is expected to be completed by August next year, is one of several projects initiated and executed across the country by Belema Oil since it was awarded the operational license of OML 55 a few years back, and more recently, the joint operatorship of OML 25.
You're watching the news at 9. We'll join Michael in Lagos for more reports.
Thank you, Rhoda, and a warm welcome to Lagos.
Lagos State government has initiated an intervention program tailored towards reducing HIV/AIDS burden in the state to achieve the UNAIDS 1990 initiative. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu stated this at the inauguration of an HIV consortium group that will coordinate a sustained response for the state. Ken Abakoya reports.
The recent report by Nigeria HIV/AIDS Indicator and Impact Survey reveals a national HIV prevalence of 1.4% among adults aged 15 to 49. This is a reduction from previous estimates of 2.8%. The UNAIDS and the National Agency for the Control of AIDS also estimate that there are 1.9 million people currently living with HIV in Nigeria. 60,000 of this figure are said to be in Lagos State. To this end, the Lagos State government has adopted a multi-sectoral approach for improved response and control of HIV/AIDS in the states.
All the vulnerable people must track. Men with men, like they said, sexual workers, injection drug users, women and children. Everybody must sort that. We must not leave anybody behind.
The U.S. government remains committed to supporting Nigeria to control its epidemic.
The adoption of a disseminated, disaggregated data in Lagos State is also in line with the 2019 World AIDS Day, which is focused on ending the epidemic through community engagement.
You don't want to do a one-size-fits-all. It wants to tailor the interventions, the strategy to channel and help reduce the burden for all the peculiarities in the different LGAs.
The Lagos State government is championing the Know Your Status campaign to track new HIV cases and provide treatment in order to achieve its proposed HIV Zero Lagos. In Lagos, Joy Ken Abakuya, NTA News.
That's the much we can take from Lagos. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we have more reports. Stay with us.
Let me give phone to Smally, make I follow up.
It's you, your former driver.
What's you? The video call. Oh, God.
Mommy. With my Glow 4G, I can now upload my cars online, sell and make plenty profit. Guess what they call me now, mommy? The new mega online car dealer.
What? Right now when the iron is hot.
See, we won't be like Shaki. I will come and meet you specially and bring one big one for you.
Why you see me?
Your daughter. I want to marry her.
You know what? I've been waiting on the road here.
Hello?
When Glow 4G day of you, confidence must stay body. Data is oxygen. Glow 4G, the new speed of life. Your number one 4G network nationwide. The very best from Glow, the grandmasters of data.
Our wonderful family, meet our active triplets. Mixology, for example, mixes well with drinks. Then enjoy every quick meal with Slurp It Off. And everywhere you go, there is Go-Gurt. Packed with healthy nutrition, nourishing vitamins, power of protein, strength of calcium, revitalizing energy. Hollandia yogurt is bursting with goodness inside and out. Hollandia yogurt, it's all good. Hollandia.
Good afternoon, ma. I need Cameroon pepper. Anything more you think I could use for
Fine boy. What's your number?
Make and receive payments with this phone number with Pay Attitude. To get started, dial *569# or download the Pay Attitude app or use the USSD code of Pay Attitude Banks to enjoy seamless transactions. So, what's your number? Pay Attitude. Be all of you.
Them girls just they feel me now, cause I get some money, then they feel me now. Back then they do me anyhow. I don't get some money, they want to get it. Oh yeah, shake body. Oh yeah, move body. Make you ring alarm. Oh yeah, shake body.
Good day. Every day.
Nestle, good food, good life.
Welcome back. The Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, has made a case for self-regulation by broadcast media organizations in the country towards guaranteeing national unity, stability and sustainable development. Mr. Adesina stated this while granting audience to the executive members of the Association of Broadcast Media Managers in Abuja who called on him. State House correspondent Adam Usaimbo tells us more.
Members of the association, comprising managers of both radio and television stations operating in the nation's capital, were in the State House to seek areas of collaboration and cooperation with the presidential media team in the greater interests of Nigeria. The media advisor to the president, Femi Adesina, commended the members for their sense of responsibility and patriotism. He, however, used the forum to express worry over the inciting messages being transmitted by some of the broadcast media stations to the public, which he described as counterproductive.
I believe that the association has a lot to do in checks and balances and some sort of regulation of things we hear on air.
Leader of the association, Tave Tiaf of the African Independent Television, said the broadcast media manager's mission was to familiarize and seek for understanding, support and cooperation from the presidency as they strive to live above board in the discharge of their responsibilities.
We believe that for the interest of Project Nigeria and Project FCT, we should work together to promote public good. There is also need for us to work together with the government on putting out the right and correct information out there.
In the management team of the association is NTA's Fatima Abbas Hassan. From the State House, Adam Usaimbo, NTA News.
You're still watching the news at 9. We'll take a last break for tonight and then we'll be back with more reports. Stay with us.
In today's world, it's tough being a woman. But thanks to So Clean, Nigeria's #1 detergent with stain magnet technology, doing washing is a whole lot faster and smarter too. Only So Clean has stain magnet technology with an advanced enzyme formula that pulls out even the toughest trapped dirt, just like powerful magnets. No wonder Nigerians love So Clean. So Clean, for a faster, brighter, cleaner wash.
They feel me now, cause I get some money, then they feel me now. Back then they do me anyhow. I don't get some money, they want to get it. Shake body. Oh yeah, move body. Make you ring alarm. Oh yeah, shake body.
They are germs. You will fall sick. Daughter, why don't you stop them?
Mom, stopping the kid from playing stops the learning. That's why we stop the germs.
Indeed, Safeguard fights against germs. Safeguard removes 99% of germs.
Why don't you stop them? We have to stop. Not the kids' butts.
With total submission to the will of the Almighty God, with the family of Ihwezi and Biasu of Indio Jiabam in Ovuku Abam, Arochuku LGA Abia State, cordially invite all to the burial ceremony of our beloved brother, husband, father, in-law, and grandfather, late Chief Ndem Ogbukalu Ebubedike Onyerubi, aged 81. Chief Ndem Kalu is the first generation life. He retired as the Director of Orientation at the NOA in the year 2000. Burial arranged service of song at the family house in number 7B, G20A, Otolo Crescent, Federal Housing Estate, Trans Ekulu, Enugu. Time 4 p.m. Friday 29th, concert of praise and tributes at late Chief Ndem Ogbu Kalu's compound. 30th November, commendation service at Presbyterian Church, Indio Jiaba. Interment follows immediately in his compound. 1st December, Thanksgiving service at Presbyterian Church, Indio Jiaba. Family announcer.
Thank you for being there. College of Commerce Warren Delta State has emerged winners of the 4th edition of the Zenith Bank Delta State Principals Cup after a 2-1 victory over Zappa Secondary School, Asaba. Asling Demodo witnessed the action at Stephen Keshi Stadium, Asaba.
The Dominant College of Commerce Warri team scored twice in the second half against Zappa Secondary School Asaba, which got a consolation. Later